Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on our Backup as a Service training sessions. I'm Rebecca Selby, the Marketing Manager at Optus, and we've got Mike Mitch here today with us, and we're going to go over part 2 of how to sell Backup as a Service. Before Mike gets started, wanted to just remind everyone that if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your Optus account manager, and all their information is listed there. If you're not sure who your account manager is, just feel free to contact info@optusinc.com. That comes directly to my team, and we will point you in the right direction. Without further ado, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Rebecca, and welcome everyone to this second part of the How to Sell Backup as a Service Part 2. In this session, we'll build on the sales tactics associated with understanding the dynamics within accounts related to backup and recover that we covered in the last one, the competitive landscape, and focus on the selling strategy. In supporting the sales strategy, we'll cover the key differentiators and proof points to support NEC's UNIVERGE Blue backup and recovery offering. We'll look at the ideal business profiles and explore how to prioritize the leading sales strategy for each by vertical market. We'll deep dive into the supporting points in the sales battle card that's available in NEC anytime for each sales strategy and substantiate each sales strategy with the key selling points. We'll wrap up by going over ideal opportunity scenarios and how to navigate around the competitive landscape. First, let's start by understanding the high-level differentiation, positioning, and supporting points that are important to a successful sale of the UNIVERGE Blue Backup and Recovery Suite. Leading with a flexible delivery model that addresses the various considerations based on where the client is in the journey provides a sense of NEC's solution fits within their framework. Typically, that's one of the key objection points that early starts in, so coming in with a flexibility message is really important. Key points to support this includes a phased approach where only backups allow for on-site and then later remote backups and phased recovery. A complete landscape of the backup protection covering clients, servers in a hybrid cloud, as well as virtual and physical aspects is also really important to point out. An advanced portal that allows clients to restore systems as well as set retention policies and reports is really another key point on this. And also remember to state that NEC is delivering a fully managed service, taking proactive action to monitor, report, and resolve issues proactively, offloading the IT staff. To build in a sense of experience and longevity, the breadth of NEC UNIVERGE Blue services, including unified communications, collaboration, messaging, file sharing, complement the backup and recover and demonstrate a suite of cloud services beyond point backup solutions. Couple that with over 120 years of communication experience with research and development positioned NEC in the top 50 innovative technology companies in the world by Boston Consulting Group. Again, building a longevity and a strong sense that NEC is going to be around for a long time, where many of the competitors are really short-term and many of them are just startups. Selling the robustness of having the industry's #1 software for the past 9 years from Gartner is also another key thing that substantiates the robustness of the service. Delivered by NEC, removing complexity and makes the service delivery very affordable. Combined with the physical security aspects of working with Iron Mountain, ensures that data is kept secure and regulated. And then closing the differentiators with the ability to have a direct relationship with NEC as the storage manufacturer provides not only cost savings, but also ensures 2 layers of support, one from NEC as well as the channel partner. Combined with NEC's billing model based on paying for only deduplicated storage, helps to provide clients proof of the value in working with NEC. In the previous sales training, we learned the sweet spot for UNIVERGE Blue services is in the SMB segment. In this slide, we'll explore the top verticals with examples of businesses and identify the top concerns in a way to prioritize the leading sales strategy. Across the board, you'll see that security and protecting or recovering data from ransomware leads or is a close second. Let's first look at education, specifically schools in the K through 12 school system. These schools have a mandate to keep student data for extremely long periods of time. Some by states can go up to 30 years. They're especially challenged with COVID and the online resources that are occurring today. Selling long-term retention in a secure environment off-premise and with the offload of productivity for IT staff that are really struggling today to maintain all of the remote learning and requirements combined with security and the optional disaster recovery are leading sales strategies. At the local government level of towns and law enforcement, security and long-term retention play top considerations, especially with the need to store data from police departments off-site. Many police departments today are struggling with managing short-term data such as typical 911 system calls. However, long-term data is becoming more of a challenge when considering the amount and retention of video now done through body cams and other types of cameras that police departments are being forced to use. This is in highly regulated, secure environments, which our platform provides and it addresses those types of needs. The ability to offer forensic class security with a simplicity to back up all municipal data is a key sales strategy for local government. In the healthcare environment, security and compliance are top priorities to lead with, followed by productivity. In the legal profession, security and productivity and compliance are your lead points. In the manufacturing sector, lead with security and follow up with support and productivity. And the same holds true for the retail environment. In retail environments where critical infrastructure is still required, such as in auto parts, building supplies, another key point is that in these segments, you want to make sure that you're addressing the support aspects for the customers because many of them do not have the IT staff to be able to support that. One key point is that you'll notice is that disaster recovery is not a leading sales strategy. Customers don't want to have to pay for it unless they need it. So what we suggest is even though we list out disaster recovery, unless the customer is asking for it, don't lead with it from that standpoint. It's always a nice piece to have after the fact that you can get optionally, as we'll talk about this as we go forward in the sales approach. Now let's deep dive into the tactical sales strategy. Selling the protection from ransomware threats, and that data needs to be off-site and protected combined with portal dashboards and daily job reports help build the foundation of the security and compliance sales message. Selling the complete backup solution and offloading of IT costs helps to build the financial case to justify NEC's UNIVERGE Blue backup and recovery solution. Combine that with no upfront license charges, paying for what is stored after deduplication, and best effort, disaster recovery completes the high-level case to get your clients to justify moving forward with a backup and recovery assessment. Also remember that the assessment provides value to clients to help them understand what they have and what their backup and retention policies are and should be. To substantiate the approach from the previous slide, the key selling points of security, reliability, compliance, and business continuity provide the supporting points. Under the efficiency and agility selling points, increased productivity, ease of use, lower cost supporting points round out the foundation of the supporting points. Get to know in each of these areas whether your customer is going down the security and compliance as a top concern and which of those pieces it's going to be able to provide the supporting points. In the event of the richness associated with the Commvault features, we have a very large repertoire of features and benefits that we can go into that if you find that interest that they have in the offering from Commvault, come to us and we'll help you provide that information. Now let's look at the 5 ideal opportunity scenarios. The first is in the sunsetting of on-premise equipment and software. What we're seeing in the industry is that technology is out of life, and that the hardware vendors and the software vendors alike want to be able to get a refresh in place. The need for a more robust solution that provides managed service and it spans public and private cloud is a perfect consideration, and that's how you want to position this. So the discovery questions is along the lines of, what's it costing you for your existing infrastructure, right? Is there an upgrade that is anticipated soon? Trying to understand that timing, real key, important in the sales selling strategy. And then, are you deploying the best practice 3-2-1 rule in having multiple copies of your data and having a copy offsite? So sunsetting and trying to understand the scheduling is a real key first one. The second one is, are they IT resource constrained, right? Remember that we're providing that offloading of the IT resources. So, leading questions without being detrimental to the accounts is, are your IT resources maintaining the current backup systems? This way you're going to know, is there insider people that are doing it? Are they going to support you or are they not, as we learned previously in some of the previous training? Is it fluctuating? Is the service fluctuating when they're implementing upgrades? If a staff member goes on vacation, do they have support or do they have to stop? Or is it supplemented? And how much on time on average does the workforce spend providing updates? And do they have any kind of an idea on how they would streamline those updates to improve the productivity? These are great leading questions to go ahead and try to address really the second of the 5 opportunity scenarios, which is offloading the IT resource. A third one gets into complexity, which is multiple backup solutions. After you've identified that they have something in this place, we typically find that they have multiple vendors doing different types of backups, and they can't get a consolidated view of the entire backup landscape. This costs the IT team administrative time, and it takes them away from the core business area. So leading questions in this area is that if you want to simplify your world, right? Do you have disparate systems? Would a centralized backup retention plan address the compliance concerns for your firm? Great leads to be able to discovery questions for you to try to understand and then offer consolidation. You may run the fourth one in the opportunity scenario is possibly a net new. They've never done it. It's a new account. And they've recognized the need for it. They absolutely want to go down the path of lower upfront investment, and they're interested in OpEx. Understanding their position on an OpEx versus a CapEx basis, could be the amount of money they want to put in the upfront for the CapEx. Could it be used elsewhere, right? Great leading questions there. And then, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the disaster recovery, don't lead with it, but if it does come up from that standpoint, do they have a disaster recovery plan? Do they have a plan for cybersecurity attacks? Remember that disaster recovery and cybersecurity also are kind of interrelated in that if they've got a good backup plan that provides disaster recovery, we can restore their data securely as a form of a disaster recovery in the event that cybersecurity was the attack. So asking questions along the lines of, what is your disaster recovery plan for the infrastructure today? Do they have one? How would a phased or a limited approach to disaster recovery utilizing clouds improve your plan? And then kind of last but not least, but what are your applications and data that are critical to be protected in case of an outage, disaster, or cybersecurity hit? So great set of leading questions for you to go forward with based off of one of these 5 opportunity scenarios. And last but not least, we're going to kind of go back over the battle card. In the battle card, we really have a couple of different scenarios here that you need to be refreshing you on what you're going to run up against for competition. The first one is against on-premise appliance vendors. Many of these appliance vendors are startups. They're privately funded. Many of them not making a lot of money, but they have been very successful in getting platforms out there. So the first thing to remember is that when you're running up against an appliance vendor, that we're selling a managed service that has proactive action associated with it. Appliance vendors, they sell it to you, and if a problem happens, you're still responsible for it. They're not taking proactive action to make sure that your backups are being performed. NEC is. The second thing in the on-premise appliances to consider is that they've got aging appliances out there that they want to do a technology refresh on, which is costly. They also don't have backup agents that are being updated continually. Another key selling feature for NEC is that we're updating those backup agents. Kind of another key point on those backup agents from the appliance vendors is they're not complete. They'll do typically a virtual machine, remember the sledgehammer backup, but they won't do the surgical backup that's required for Active Directory or Microsoft SQL Server or Microsoft Exchange to restore one email from 6 years ago. We do that under one type of a solution. And then another key thing is that compared to appliance vendors, we can operate without the physical appliance. We only need the network. So our implementation is very lightweight from that standpoint. The next one that you run up against is the cloud storage providers. And these are the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world, Googles that are providing blog storage. But you got to remember that this is just simply off-premise storage that's not under a managed service. You're still responsible for doing all of that management from that standpoint. There's also a lot of complexity associated with using cloud storage. In the case of Amazon, almost 25 different line items of charge associated just with storing storage in Amazon. So we're simpler to be able to work with that. Now, the key thing is that we're only charging on the deduplication and you get support from NEC. Another key point is that we're providing the optional recover solution, which allows for optional or disaster or contracted disaster recovery based off of what your RPO, RTO is. Remember, we learned RPO, RTO in the previous training session. And last but not least, against the cloud storage providers, sell that it's a part of a suite of NEC UNIVERGE Blue Cloud services. It's not a single type of backup. And then on the last battle card positioning is that we run up against a lot of what we consider to be consumer grade services, right? These are they play well in the SMB area because they're positioned low like that. But they don't typically provide the full suite of backup systems. You don't get server systems as a part of the backup. You only get the clients in some instances. Another key thing with these consumer grade services is it's not a managed service. There's no proactive action in the event that something happens. And the same points that took place in the on-prem appliance, because many of these these providers that use consumer grade services, they have older appliances. The backup agents are not backed up continually, and it's not a complete backup. They don't back up all of the type of the systems that are out there. And you can see that in some of the competitive positioning that we provided in the second series. So to close out today's session, the key thing is we're providing all of your clients' data protected, it's integrated, it's reliable, and it's efficient. Use that for your high-level elevator pitch when you're talking to your customers. And on behalf of NEC, I'd like to thank everyone for going through this 101.3.2 session on the second part of how to sell NEC. Now, we look forward to the next session next week on how to perform the no obligation assessment. And with that, Rebecca, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this session today.